I understand this is a split national call. Alfred Naro.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's an honour to speak this afternoon on the Prime Minister's statement. Mr Speaker, last week I attended the State of the Nation report from the Salvation Army. The report was entitled "A Mountain All Can Climb." What I was heartened by this report, Mr Speaker, was actually the statements that were used to be the foundation of this report, which was talking about the values that Sir Edmund Hillary had, and which is that he talked about being of modest ability, having determination and ambition, which really sort of states the things that we as a government also believe that all New Zealanders have, and they are important for a growing and thriving country as well. At that time, in that morning report, Mr Speaker, what was quite interesting, because this report was a State of the Nation report, Salvation Army putting forward to indicate what they believed the government was doing to meet the needs of the country. It's a report that had 22 indicators, 5 focus areas inside of that report, and often it's looked at as being a critique on the social and economic infrastructure of the country and the state at that time. Mr Speaker, I want to say that this report is encouraging to the government. Out of the 22 indicators, 13 of those indicators indicate that there are things that the government's doing that is making a difference. Mr Speaker, we can hear from the opposition who will tell us about all the things that are going wrong. From the inside looking out to the public out there, we'll also tell our story. What becomes heartening and what creates evidence to the fact of whether we are making a difference is when those social commentators on the outside validate the direction that this government is taking. So, Mr Speaker, I want to encourage the indicators of this report. It talks about child poverty, which is reduced by 2%. Yes, we know there is more to come. There is more to do, but the signs are encouraging. Children at risk, number of substantiated cases of child abuse or neglect is down by 15%. Mr Speaker, on child poverty, it talks about the percentage of children living in benefit-dependent households. Today, we had the annual review for the Ministry of Social Development. The opening statement by the CEO, Mr Brendan Boyle, was talking about the reduction of those in benefit numbers. Now, we on this side applauded that because that's one of the things that's absolutely important to us. On the opposition, all we heard was the little nitpicking about all the systemic things that could go wrong. Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister has made it really clear. Children in hardship is an area that we are focusing on. We know that we're beginning to make a difference in that as well. Teenage pregnancy down by 14%. The rate of pregnancy among 15 to 19-year-olds. Overall crime down by 3.7%. Mr Speaker, we know that crime as a whole is down at a 35-year low. That's an indicator that we're proud of when we continue at that ongoing work as well. Imprisonment down by 3.2%. Recidivism down by 0.5%, and still work to be done there. When we talk about jobs, Nanaia Mahuta talked about the importance of jobs and what that contributes to our communities as a whole. So let's talk about employment. The number of jobs within the economy has grown by 3.5%. Mr Speaker, we know that's encouraging. Household labourhood surveys have shown that we've not only grown by 80,000 more jobs, but 215,000 jobs in the last 5 years. That's encouraging. Unemployment numbers down by 0.4%, Mr Speaker. Again, making a difference that we know into our communities. Let's talk about incomes. We know the difference that that makes for households in order for them to pay for the needs of their family, for education, for health, and for recreation as well. Average weekly wage, salary for employees, has risen by 1.8%, Mr Speaker. 1.8%. We know that the rate of the wage increase, the average weekly wage increase, is far above that of inflation at the moment, Mr Speaker. Living costs and food and poverty down by 2%, Mr Speaker. It truly is making a difference. Social hazards, alcohol. Mr Speaker, we know that these things are making a difference. I've got 1 minute to be able to summarise. And I want to summarise because Simon Collins, who's a social commentator for the New Zealand Herald, and this is what he says, Mr Speaker, in last week's Herald. State of the Nation report, more jobs, better incomes, and fewer on welfare, but we need 4,000 homes. We won't deny that there is a need for work to be done. But lastly, I want to indicate, and here's what he entitled his middle page, on A14, life getting better on most indicators. Mr Speaker, we can have the opposition that tell about all things that are going wrong, but from the outside looking in, most New Zealanders, 47.5% who voted for this government, believe that we are making a difference. That's the fact, that's the truth. Hard to argue with it, but Mr Speaker, that's why this government is making a difference. Thank you.
Speaker.
Simon O'Connor.
A certain Alfred Naro and I were debating who would go first, and of course with his great passion and exploration of the truth, it's a difficult one to follow, but Alfred, Mr Naro, has indicated some of the really strong elements of this government, and I am very pleased to take a call in support of the